Smith. I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and go over the component cost rollup as it's been moved from version 2 to version 4 user interface. Component cost rollup, as was in version 2, is under the product development role, specifically this menu option called component cost rollup. Click on the button and it opens up the standard component cost rollup screen. For those that are used to version 2, it functions identically to the way it was in version 2. For those folks that are new to the component cost rollup, just a couple of quick points here. You can control what types of products that you're going to roll up or get a theoretical cost for. I'm going to leave it on all, and then we can restrict to either a range or a specific item. Just make sure that you hit the insert on the restriction so that the actual restriction is pulled from the range down into this restriction. You can also restrict by description and range of description and range of facilities. And those are cumulative filters or restrictions. Additionally, the cost rollup can just simply print a report. It can update the cost called standard cost in the component screen and vicinity. It can also it can update the field called standard cost in Microsoft Dynamics, whether that be NAV, GP, or SL. The system, the cost rollup we'll be looking at the Dynamics inventory evaluation method to determine what cost to use. Largely it uses the current or last cost field unless you're standard. And so just know that the cost rollup will be looking for the logic from Dynamics to determine where costs are being pulled from. You can always override those costs directly from the Dynamics or the vicinity standard cost fields by clicking on the override. And then we also have got the proposed cost. If you haven't looked into proposed cost, it's a very powerful feature. It allows you to substitute cost of inventory items using a schedule, a proposed cost schedule. Some people use this to identify items that are going to change cost, say in 6 months, and they can have a list of items that with their new costs. So when the cost rollup runs, it will go and use this 6 month projected for any item that is on that schedule. So not all items have to be in the schedule of, say, 6 month projected, just the ones that you think are going to change. You can also identify which report layout you want to use. You can have as many as you want. There's a standard cost rollup report. If you leave that blank, it'll just use the standard report. But you can use this screen and use this report for many different purposes. And this report name allows you to control that, and you can pick from other report layouts. We can also control when we perform the cost rollout whether there's a formula yield being used. So on the master formula, there is a yield percentage. Let's say it's 90%. What that's saying is that if I put in 100 pounds of raw materials, I expect to get 90 pounds of finished goods out. Because of that, that can affect the cost rollup, the theoretical cost rollup. So you can tell the system to account for that yield or don't. In other words, gross up, if you will, the raw material usage by the yield when it goes to calculate the cost per unit. And then finally, whether you want to see something in detail or in summary. Let me go ahead and just hit the process button. It'll go and run the cost rollup. It just gives me notification that it actually successfully completed a rollup of an item. And here is the report in the format that I just laid out. So we actually have multi-levels. In this case, there's only one level, but if you had an intermediate, it would drill through that intermediate and you would be able to see the indentation of those items. Of course, the item, this is the quantity per stocking unit to measure the item that's being rolled up. In this case, it's a finished good. It's a 1 quart can of product. So those are eaches. So in 1 quart, we are using a quart can, which is a bill of material item. So the can itself, we're using a lid, and then we've got a number of ingredients. These ingredient quantities are to make up one, in this case, quart, one each. So we've expressed this in quantities per each. This unit cost is the cost per stocking or unit of measure being shown next to it. So this is $6.50 per pound. This is $125 per bag, etc. And then the system extends that, giving you the extended cost going into that each. So if you add up all these extended costs, that will come to that $13.92. So some of the cost components we're seeing here is the bill of material components. Those are packaging items identified on the component screen, specifically on the subcomponents section. These are the ingredients coming directly from the formula. We also have got some byproduct that's coming out of that, and then we've got some additional costs that's associated with the formula. I could also have additional costs associated with the bill of material as well that this item doesn't show. On the second page, I've got a summary that gives me the summarization of all material costs, additional costs, etc., and so on. These are cost buckets that the system can track for you. So that's the cost roll-up. Know that if I mark update, what's going to happen with the update, let me go ahead and just process that, let it update, and it took care of the update. And what it just did is it took that 1392 and it copied it and wrote it to the component screen. So there's a field in component entry on the main tab. So for this item, it goes and it updates the details of of that screen. So actually, I'm going to go down to the subcomponent and come down to right here, the standard cost, because it's a different facility. It updated the standard cost of that facility, showing those details that I've got listed here. Okay, so those are the items to look at on the component cost rollup. Know that it's available from an icon in your desktop, from within Dynamics, and of course from the Vicinity menu navigation system. I hope that helps, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.